This is the moment we've all been waiting for. When Trump won the past election, it wasn't just a political victory, it was a wake-up call. The people sent a loud, clear message that they were fed up with a woke progressive agenda dominating the culture, and for years the loudest voices pushed ideological narratives, but that moment signaled a shift. The silent majority stood up, showed they weren't buying into it anymore, the media took notice, and some of them were releasing articles arguing that the woke era in Hollywood is over. And today we're covering it all, so make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell for more videos just like this. Okay, so it looks like Hollywood might finally be waking up, or should I say unwoking up? Multiple newspapers, and we're talking industry giants here, have already started running stories announcing the end of woke Hollywood. The Telegraph has been doing some heavy lifting, having published 2 articles on it, with one of them even going as far as announcing the end of cancel culture. Vanity Fair released an article of their own titled, quote, "Hollywood's DEI programs have begun to DIE." How hard did the industry really try? Well, judging by how aggressively they've been shoving this stuff down our throats, I'd say it's safe to say they tried, but only in the most superficial way possible. The real mic drop came from the New York Times, though, and they didn't hold back. It opened up with Hollywood has its eras often apparent only in retrospect. Think back several years. Do you remember packed theaters giving Black Power salutes at screenings of Black Panther? Do you remember when all-female version of Ghostbusters was treated as a pioneering development? Please don't remind me. And do you remember when the writer of a Star Wars film described the Empire as a white supremacist human organization after Donald Trump's 2016 elections? Has enough time now passed to say that has all been a bit strange? Strange indeed, by the way. Here's the thing, it takes zero courage to call this out now, but hey, admitting it is a step in the right direction. At least they're not gaslighting us anymore by saying we don't like poorly made movies because we just don't get it. And check out people like Critical Drinker and Nerdrotic for much more info on these kind of topics. They've been talking about it for years. Hollywood forgot one crucial thing. At the end of the day, people want good stories, not a side of guilt with their popcorn. And you know who saw this coming? The Queen of X herself, Justine Bateman. She called it out just days after Trump's victory. Looks like the rest of the world is finally catching up.
But what I'm really excited about is that the political correctness, the sort of woke era is over, because you need mob mentality momentum in order to keep that going, in order to threaten people if they're not thinking and talking the way you do, to threaten their lives, threaten their careers, threaten their place in society. You need that momentum in order to do that. And when Trump won presidency again, that cut that momentum off. So this whole woke era is over.
You're right. I mean, they only are effective when they work in perfect harmony together. And now they're all divided and arguing with each other, and they're not on offense. They're canceling each other. And that's probably a good thing.
You might be wondering, what does a person becoming president have to do with the direction of the entertainment industry takes? My friends, it is very simple and apparent. Trump's victory wasn't just a political statement, it was a cultural one too. And it ruined all movies since 2016. Anyway, let's get back to it. Sure, the economy and border issues were key factors in the election, but man, an underlying silent factor was the majority pushing back against the woke ideology that was dominating Hollywood and beyond. Again, I reference Nerdrotic and Critical Drinker. Millions of voters essentially said enough with the lectures, enough with cancel culture, and enough with the constant virtue signaling. In many ways, it was a cultural reset, a reminder that not everyone buys into hyper-politicized vision of the world that Hollywood often tries to sell. Trump's win forced the entertainment industry to confront a bitter truth. Their values didn't align with a massive portion of the audience. The New York Times article also touched on the topic saying, and I quote, "Then there are the paper-thin diverse characters parachuted into major films, put front and center on every poster, but given curiously little to do as the plot unfolds." Brie Larson's Captain Marvel was set up as the most powerful superhero in the Marvel universe by far, but ended up playing no decisive role in any of its important films. Many attempts to diversify old intellectual property only emphasized how awkward and unwelcoming those worlds were to the kind of people they wanted to include. The characters could do nothing to change the old logic of the stories they were dropped into. We've been saying that forever. The problem isn't diversity itself, it's how it is being handled. Instead of creating real, relatable characters, Hollywood is churning out one-dimensional tokens that add nothing to the plot. It's like they think audiences will be so amazed by the casting choices that they won't notice the lack of substance. Here's a suggestion: why not focus on writing good stories and characters? Build the characters that are rich, layered, and memorable, and let diversity flow naturally from that, like we were already doing. Justine also criticized the lack of creativity and innovation in Hollywood, and she made some valid points.
Yeah, for the last 4 years, very acutely, and I know it preceded these 4 years as well, but there's been kind of a pressing down and kind of limiting what people can say. And what happens too is you limit what can even occur in society. And so there's been a stagnation. Things haven't been moving forward in the arts, in philosophy, in politics, in medicine, in anything. And I don't mean technically did things, were there technological advances or anything like that. I mean innovation, like with your thoughts, with what is coming into your spirit from God, magic, the universe, whatever you want to call it. That's been stagnated for at least 4 years. And now that's changed. And that's what I'm really excited about. I've been waiting for this moment for a long time.
It's a brilliant observation. And I've noticed it too, that culture is stuck. They keep making repeats of every movie. Every TV show's a repeat. There's no creativity in Hollywood, in literature, in the arts. As you mentioned, you've noticed it more than anybody, I'm sure.
That is spot on. Creativity and innovation thrive on the freedom to express one's thoughts without fear of judgment, ridicule, or backlash. Historically speaking, some of the most groundbreaking art, literature, and entertainment came from creators willing to push boundaries, challenge norms, and explore controversial ideas. But under the grip of woke culture, the freedom was non-existent, and with it, the spark that fuels cultural progress. When you have a group telling you to abide by a set of rigid rules about what's acceptable, and they always make new ones, then as a creator, you'd be really careful about what you say because it's your livelihood at stake. And we already saw the results of that as the entire entertainment industry felt stagnant and uninspired, where most of the works we got lacked any depth because they were tailored to avoid offending anyone. I've noticed, by the way, you haven't liked the video or subscribed to the channel yet, so what are you waiting for? Funnily enough, the New York Times also talked about it saying, quote, Hollywood is no less dependent than before on its original lore. It's Aliens and Star Wars and Mission Impossible recycled over and over to keep us entertained. The industry tried to update these formulas with new faces, but many of its efforts felt dutiful, insincere, too earnest, and self-satisfied. Say what you want about the flaws of people like the Schwarzeneggers, but they have survived the changing times because they're fun, something the PC blockbuster rarely had going for it. At least we no longer have to pretend to like something because it has the right politics or because the most people vocally against it are Nazis. I think real creativity demands the freedom to think differently, challenge norms, and sometimes even offend. Without that, we're left with a culture that is more concerned with checking boxes than telling meaningful stories or presenting fresh ideas. To move forward, we as a society need to embrace the messy, unpredictable process of genuine expression. But I'd love to know your thoughts here, so let's get the conversation rolling in the comments down below. And by the way, if you haven't subscribed and you want your friends to see more about this, please share the video with them, subscribe. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.